aims and the will of Rasulullah, and everything Rasulullah did during his life, they continue it after him in regards to the dunya, in regards to the running of the dunya. If Rasulullah during his time was the Hujjah of Allah upon the earth and it existed because of him, following his death, then they come into that position, they take over that mantle. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Holy Quran also has wasiyah. When we look at this idea of the wasiyah, the wills, the something, obviously in the case of Allah, it isn't because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is na'udhu billah, dying or anything and passing on the mantle, but rather it comes as an advice. And there's three types of wasiyah within the Holy Quran. The wasiyah Allah gives to his anbiya, and we'll look at these today. Some of the wasiyah that Allah gives to his prophets, the wasiyah that the prophets then pass on to their children, and then the wasiyah of Rasulullah and what it was that Rasulullah wanted from this ummah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah 42 verse number 13 says, شَرَعَ لَكُم مِّنَ الدِّينِ ما وصي به نوحا والذي أوحينا إليك وما وصينا به إبراهيم وموسى وعيسى أن أقيموا الدين ولا تتفرقوا فيه. He says, and in matters of faith, he has ordained for you that which he had enjoined upon Noah, and into which we gave thee insight through the revelation, as well as that which we had enjoined upon Abraham, Moses, Jesus, and what is those things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing the Anbiya? What is it that he gave them? And then now what is it that he's asking Rasulullah? Because this ayah is addressing Rasulullah, that I want you to do something. The wasiyah or the order from Allah is for Rasulullah, and he's saying, I'm ordering you to do something, that which I asked Ibrahim and I asked you Isa and I've asked Musa to do, and Nuh before them to do it as well. And those are two things. Aqimuddin, first of all, uphold the religion, steadfastly uphold the religion and the faith, and do not break up the unity, do not cause disunity. So he's addressing the Holy Prophet, saying, I've given you these wasiyas as I gave to the Ulil Azam prophets before you, those that were messengers, those that came down with a message, and this was the same order that I had given them, that establish the religion, maintain the religion, make sure you do not cause disunity, do not allow disunity to happen. First thing was to uphold the religion. When it comes, and when we think about it, actually, when we think about upholding the religion, it's not something that is easy. It's something very, very difficult, but absolutely essential, even within our own lives. We say, to uphold the religion, we look at it as something very light, but yet it is something very heavy. It is something very difficult. Tazkiyatun nafs, fulfilling the wajibat, all of these things. It's very difficult to do so. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he addresses the Holy Prophet, about the hadith of Mi'raj, and I've said this to you previously, that when he talks about Tazkiyat al-Nafs, he says that it is so difficult for an individual. He says, يموت الناس مرة ويموت أحدهم في كل يوم 70 مرة. Says that all of mankind only dies once in their life, but the people of the Akhirah die every day, 70 times a day, fighting against their nafs. Fighting the nafs is very difficult. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying it's like dying over and over and over. Dying is easier, but fighting one's nafs, fighting one's desire is far more difficult. And the people of the Akhirah do that every single day, fighting against those lowly desires. And the religion, as a whole, is something so important. Sometimes we pick and choose what we want from the religion, things that suit us, things that don't suit us. I take something and I say, yes, okay, this is of interest to me, or it works in my interest, but yet this doesn't work in my interest, and I won't take that. I'll take the fasting, but I won't take the salah. I'll take the salah, but I won't give the khums. I'll do all of these things. I'll give the khums and stuff, but I'm not going to go to do hajj, because it's too hot or it's too crowded or whatever, different excuses. But we pick and choose the religion. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying to the Holy Prophet, like, this is my wasiyah to you, this is my order to you, that you uphold this religion, you maintain this religion, you maintain the qawa'id, the pillars of this religion, and you take it forward without causing disunity. And we take in our day-to-day lives, matters of the religion so lightly. One of those things, I mean, especially here in the US, it's far more apparent than anywhere else, is the matter of interest. And it is something that is so abhorrent in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the eyes of the Holy Prophet, that the narration says that the one that takes 1 dirham of interest, it is as if this individual has committed adultery, zina, with his mother in the Kabeerah 70 times. 1 dirham, 1 dinar, 1 dirham of interest, equivalent to committing zina with one's mother in the Kabeerah 70 times. But yet the society within which we live, the way that it has been built, the way that it's, no, take it out on a loan, take a loan, have the car on loan, or have the house on loan, or have this on loan. Everything is taken on some sort of credit agreement. But yet every single dirham of that, every single cent of that we are consuming is filling the grave with the fire, with adab. It's things like this that we don't realize. Yes, the maraji have allowed us that, yes, it is sometimes not possible for you to buy something outright, like a house. So you can then take your mortgage and for that one particular property and buy, and then there's stipulations in regards to your second property and your investment properties and all of those things, because of the interest that is involved. So now I want to live a certain lifestyle, I want to maintain a certain lifestyle, but at what expense? Because I want to drive a certain car, or I want to have a certain phone, or I want to, have a certain sort of product, and so I'll take it out on credit and I'll carry on paying it, but yet I accrue that interest, the one that pays, the one that consumes. It says it is as if a person has committed adultery with his mother in the Kabeerah 70 times. 1 dirham of interest. And then in the Holy Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't refer to the murderer as being at war with him. He doesn't refer to the adulterer as being at war for him. He says the one that consumes interest, he is the one that is at war with me. The person that has dealings with interest, he is a direct enemy of God, that is at war with God. The matters of the religion are not that easy. Because in day-to-day life we seem to forget. We should think, oh no, it's okay if I just, do it. But no, in reality, there's huge repercussions. And especially here within the US, you just cannot buy anything. Everything wants to be sold to you on credit. And wants to be sold to you and pull you into that system of interest and paying interest and, accruing all of that. Everything. I mean, it's not so bad in like Europe and places, but here within the US, it's a massive thing that you guys have to deal with, And then, how do I then begin to understand, or how do I consolidate what I want that will lead to me consuming interest and creating adab in my akhirah and in my grave, to what I can afford to have? There's 2 different things. What I want to have, great, I'll have the car, I'll have everything that I want, but for that, to have that, the car or those new set of teeth, or, the teeth whitening, whatever I want, everything that I put out on a credit plan. What I want is just out of reach, so I put it on a credit plan and accrue the interest and the adab in the akhirah. Or what I can actually afford. And what in reality, what is satisfaction? What is rada? It is that one is satisfied with their lot. What they have been given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are satisfied with that which they have given. They don't try and aspire for more, don't want more that is out of their reach. It's what differentiated the companions of Rasulullah. You know, it differentiated the greatness of the companions between each other, because it was just that thought process, that qana'a, being happy with what one has, not trying to chase something that is there. And it's all around in this consumerist society and consumerism. It makes us desire those things that are out of reach. In the pursuit, if you remember from last year's lectures, in the pursuit of happiness. In reality, that's what everything is based around. It's trying to make you happy, but yet when we go and chase it, we're never really happy, and we're always looking for the next high. And so then that consumerism becomes for us the next drug. It becomes for us a drug. The next thing that we buy, it makes us feel good, and then we come down from that high, and then we need to buy again. And everything that I have right now, for that moment, I'm really happy, and then a minute later, or depending on how flaky you are, an hour later, 2 days later, or a year later, you begin to get bored of it. Now I need something else. I'm not satisfied with the lot that I have, and that's what pulls me into this system of interest within the societies within which we live, because it's something just I'll just take a loan for it. It's okay. But when it comes to the akhirah, there is huge adhab awaiting. And there are specific adhab that are spoken about for the one that consumes interest, the one that has dealings with interest, how he will be brought in on Yawm al-Qiyamah. And we don't have time to go into that. And these matters will annoy people. Will say, why are we getting so extreme about it? We have to live here and stuff. And the Holy Quran and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also it speaks about it. He says, yes, these matters of upholding the religion, it will annoy people. When you tell them to uphold the religion, and when you uphold the religion, they will get annoyed, they will get upset with you. Who are those people? He says, Kabeerah ala al-mushrikeen, for the polytheists, for the mushrikeen, this will be something that upsets them. That why is this being spoken about? Why is the religion so difficult? Why is... It says the mushrikeen are those that get happy, that get upset. The mu'mineen remain happy. They have that rada, they have that satisfaction, they have that qana'a in whatever they have. In whatever they have, they're happy with it. They're satisfied with it. Don't aspire for more unless, of course, they're able to achieve it with their own means, not alone. And those that obey their nafs, those that give in to their lowly desires, for them, following the religion and that, it becomes difficult. They're the ones that complain. So this is one of the wasiyah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or one of the advices that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands the Holy Prophet in the Holy Quran. When we look at the wasiyah of the Prophets to their children, وَوَصَيْ بِهَا إِبْرَاهِيمَ بَنِيهِ وَيَعْقُوبَ يَا بُنَيْ. So when Hazrat Ibrahim enjoins upon his children, he tells his children, and in the same way as Nabi Yaqub, as Jacob before him, my children, surely God has chosen for you this faith. So do not allow death to overtake you unless you are Muslims. A prophet of God is addressing his children. Says, Inna Allah astafa lakum ad-din فَلَا تَمُوتَنَّ إِلَّا وَأَنْتُمْ مُسْلِمُونَ. Says that make sure you preserve it, make sure you keep it, and don't leave this path. Because many people fall in and out of Islam, in and out of Iman. We subconsciously do it with our actions. I subconsciously commit acts of kufr, I commit acts of shirk subconsciously, not realizing that who is it that I'm warring against? Who is it that I'm going against? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Many a times, we complain about certain things. Even complaining at the higher levels of spirituality is an act of kufr. because one is not satisfied with their lot. One is in fact questioning God's command. And when one can control that disease of complaining, many different doors open in one's journey towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If I can stop complaining about the weather, about how hot it is, or how cold it is, or how much it rains, or how much, the price of things have become, or how I'm upset about something that's happened, or I get a flat tire, I complain. Something happens. Sometimes, we have something major, like, okay, a flat tire on a freeway somewhere. I get upset, complain. That's one level. But there's certain people who, within them, that disease is just there. No matter what you do, they always complain. You can't make them happy. They will always complain. And it's a disease that's rooted in their soul. And that moment, these certain things that are there, that nature of complaining, eventually it reaches a point where people will start then complaining against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when a person is accustomed to it, when they're passing through the sakarat al-maut, when they're passing through the final moments of their death, at that point shaitan doubles his efforts. He comes and he tries to misguide this person totally. And because he's trying to misguide this person, that person eventually, because of their love of the dunya, because they don't have that connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even in that last moment, they will turn towards kufr and be damned to hell. This is why the recommendation is that when you're there, next to a person that is dying, recite dua adila for them. It's a reaffirmation of faith. Recite dua adila. Remind them of the imams. Remind them of Allah. Remind them to fight against shaitan. Because there's many things that are happening in the unseen that we cannot see. And as they're permeating the barrier between the seen and the unseen worlds, they begin to see things that those around them that are crying, that are weeping, those that are around them that are praying for their recovery do not see. How the shayateen are surrounding them, how they're trying to misguide this person right at the last moment. So the dua of the Anbiya for their prophets, Nabi Ibrahim, Nabi Yaqub, that is telling the Anbiya for their children, that they're telling their children that make sure you maintain this religion. We're looking at the line where Imam al-Hadi is referring to Ahlulbayt as awsiya Nabiyullah, that you are the awsiya, you are the inheritors, you are the wasis of the prophets of God. And we're looking at the various wasiyah that is there within the Holy Quran. So we've looked at the wasiyah that Allah, or the command or the advice Allah gives to the Holy Prophet. Then the second one is what Nabi Ibrahim gives to his son. And then the third type of wasiyah that we find in the Holy Quran is the one that the Holy Prophet of Islam gives to the people, or the wasiyah of the Holy Prophet. Because the Holy Prophet is the culmination of everything that has happened. From Nabi Adam until him, every sharia that has been brought, every message that has come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and now what the Holy Prophet says will be what continues until the day of judgment, and that will preserve the religion until the day of judgment. From the start from Nabi Adam, Nabi Ibrahim, Nabi Isa, Nabi Nuh, all of them are saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordered them to maintain the religion, to establish the religion, to preserve this religion. Nabi Ismail is ordered by his father. Nabi Ibrahim is ordering his children. Nabi Yaqub is ordering his children. Make sure you preserve your religion, maintain this religion. So then now when it comes to the Holy Prophet, he must put a system in place that will preserve this religion until the day of judgment. And it is such an important system that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying to him that if you do not tell this it is as if you've done nothing. Every single prophet prior to you, all their message is wasted. It must be from you to preserve all those messages of every single prophet, because if you don't tell them today, فَمَا بَلَّغْتَ رِسَالَتَكَ, it is as if you have done nothing. Your whole prophethood is wasted. The prophethood of 123,999 prophets is wasted. Every single message of God is wasted, and you must now preserve this message for all of eternity. That is the command that comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that comes from Allah to the Holy Prophet. And then how is it that he preserves that religion? None other than the wilayat of Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullah alayhi. No, the religion is preserved through the wilayat of Ahlulbayt. When we refer to them as awsiya Nabiullah, that you are the wasis of the Prophet of God, it is not just Rasulullah, but every prophet from Nabi Adam until Rasulullah. Every message from Adam until Rasulullah. They are the culmination, they are the preservers of it, and they are the executor of the will of not just the Anbiya of God, not just the Rasuls of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but they are the executors of the will of God upon earth. That's why when his wilayat is announced, Al-Yawma akmaltu lakum deenakum, that today we have perfected your religion. After this there is nothing else. The wilayah of Amir al-Mu'mineen is that essential part. It is that essential cog within all of existence. This is that one thing that we cannot compromise on. This is that one thing that we must instill within our children, that the wilayat of Amir al-Mu'mineen is haqq. This is one thing that we shall never compromise on, no matter in front of who we are. The wilayat of Amir al-Mu'mineen is there. The wilayah is announced by Allah. The successorship of the Anbiyas is announced by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is not chosen by the prophets of God. Allah chooses, they announce. It is not chosen through ijma', through a consensus of people. It is not chosen through one person appointing the person after them. Nor is it chosen by a shura or a council, as has happened in the history of Islam. That from Nabi Adam until the Holy Prophet, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose the wasi and chose the successors of the prophets of God. Only He chose it, but it is only at the time of the death of the Holy Prophet does the Muslim Ummah take a new stance, take a new way, away from what the Holy Prophet has taught them, away from what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has done. We find three different methodologies in the history of Islam, in the history of the Muslims, three different methodologies of appointing. When it comes to the appointment of the first Khalifa, it is based upon ijma', that they say a group of people chose him. They say ijma' is the way forward. But yet when it comes to the appointment of the second Khalifa, he is appointed by the first Khalifa. Now no ijma' is there. And now when it comes to the appointment of the third Khalifa, here now there is a shura council that is set up. Now there is neither the ijma', now there is neither the appointment, but a third method has been chosen. But yet the method of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will never change. The method of God never changes. That method is that Allah chooses it, the wasis of His Anbiya. That is the way that it has always been. That's something that we cannot move away from, because that is haqq. And as the Quran says, فَمَاذَا بَعْدَ الْحَقِّ إِلَّا الضَّلَالِ, that what is there after the truth, after haqq, after you have identified the truth, if you walk away from it, there is nothing but oppression, darkness, misguidance. And عَلِيٌّ مَعَ الْحَقِّ وَالْحَقُّ مَعَ عَلِيٍّ. The Holy Prophet says, and Ali is with haqq, and the haqq is with Ali. And oh Allah, turn haqq towards wherever Ali ibn Abi Talib goes. These are the awsiya of the Holy Prophet of Islam. Then the second thing that the Imam says, وَزُرِيَّةِ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَآلِهِ. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. Says, and you are the descendants of the Messenger of Islam. And it's pertinent today because today is also the wiladat of Imam al-Hassan salawatullah wa salamuhu alayh. That we discuss this idea of zurriya, we discuss this idea of being descendants of the Prophet, the children of the Holy Prophet. Zurriya translates to children, either from son or from the daughter. An individual's daughter has children, they are part of his zurriya. An individual's son has children, they are part of his zurriya. But this debate continued and was always there pre-Islam and even post-Islam. What debate? The debate of whether the one's daughter's children form part of their zurriya. Whether my daughter's children will be classified as my children. In pre-Muhammadan Islam, even the advent of Islam, you have individuals where the Holy Quran is describing them, that when we would tell them about the birth of a daughter, وَإِذَا بُشِّرَ أَحَدُهُمْ بِالْأُنْثَى, when we would tell them about the birth of a daughter, their faces would darken, they would become upset, and they would be filled with anger. That why is it that we have had a daughter? It was considered a shame for the family that a daughter be born within it. And then the Quran continues and says, and then what they would do, they would either be embarrassed and hide themselves from the people, or they would hide themselves from the people and do one of two things. Either they would raise the daughter in a state of humiliation, being humiliated by society, or then they would bury the daughter alive. This was that time. That period of Jahiliyyah, that ignorance existed, and even until today it exists in certain societies. You look at the level of female infanticide in India and in China. In developing countries, the level of female infanticide is huge. Forget developing countries, come to developed countries. Forget non-Muslims, come to Muslims. Forget the Muslims, come to the Shia nation. A wife that has given birth to daughter after daughter, the husband now wants a divorce. Why? Because she hasn't given me a son. She's the cause, she's the reason for why I'm having daughters. Divorce after divorce, cases like this. Why? Because my wife isn't giving birth to a son. It isn't up to her what she gives birth to. Nor is it down to you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Holy Quran says, He says, لِلَّهِ مُلْكُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ يَخْلُقُ مَنْ يَشَاءُ وَيَحَبُّ لِمَنْ يَشَاءُ إِنَاثًا وَيَحَبُّ لِمَنْ يَشَاءُ ذُكُورًا. He says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the Lord of the worlds, the heavens and the earth. He creates whatever He wills. He gives to whoever a son, and He chooses who should have a daughter. And then He continues, He says, and He chooses whether they should have twins. And He chooses whether they should not have any children at all. Everything is based upon a system. Everything is based upon the nizam of Allah. He knows what is required in order for the human race to continue. Everything is proportioned. Nothing happens by accident. Nothing happens by accident. If He has ordained for you to have daughters, then that is what He has chosen, and one should submit in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no matter how much they want a son. And when you look at the narrations of daughters, within the history, within the books of hadith, you look at the Holy Quran, he speaks about hiba. He says that the daughter is a gift unto you from Allah. Then the narrations go forward, that woman that gives birth to a daughter first, her first child is a daughter. She is Mubarakah. She is blessed, and her every step is blessed. That lady that gives birth to a daughter first, she is Mubarakah. And her every step is Mubarak. Her every step is blessed. And as I said, this idea continued even post the Holy Prophet. That people constantly were saying, no, the son, the children of the daughter can never be the sons of the grandfather. They can never be classified as the zuriyah of the grandfather. And it's continued. In the time of Muawiyah, they say that one day Muawiyah gave an order that do not, from now on, when you write to Al-Hasan and Al-Hussein, do not write to them as Ibn Rasulillah. Instead, write to them as Ibn Ali, the sons of Ali, or O son of Ali. It says, because they're not the sons of Rasulullah. It said, they're not the sons of Rasulullah. This is the core of it. Why is it that it continued so long in the history of Islam? Banu Umayyah, Bani al-Abbas. Bani al-Abbas would pay poets to write poetry, to defame and to lower the status of those that had daughters, and saying things about daughters, not their children, not being the zuriyah. It was for one reason. That's Bani Umayyah did it, Bani al-Abbas did it, and it continues to be a debate amongst certain people. There is only one reason for it, and that is to discount the fact that Ahlulbayt, that the children of Amirul Mu'mineen are the children of Rasulullah. It boiled down to that one fact. Muawiyah says, do not call them Ibn Rasulullah. They are not the children of Rasulullah. Write for them Ibn Ali, they are the sons of Ali. Person does that. Some weeks later, Muawiyah says to him, I want you to write down the list of all my children. I have some matter. Write down all of their names, all my children. So the same person was there. He writes down all the names of the children of Muawiyah, and he gives them. Muawiyah looks at them. He says, I'm sure I had more than these. I'm sure I had more than this amount of children. Says yes. He goes, but wait, you haven't written the names of the children of my daughters. And it seems like this person also had some level of love of Ahlulbayt within his heart. He said, yes, but O Amir, you yourself told me some weeks ago that the daughter's children cannot be classified in the zuriyah of the grandfather. He says, O Muawiyah, if Hassan and Hussein cannot be the sons of Rasulullah, why is it that your daughter's sons can be from amongst your zuriyah? He says to him, you make a good point. The narration says it. It says, you make a good point, but don't tell anyone about it. But this hatred, it continued. You have people like Harun coming up to the Imams, constantly challenging, why do you call yourself Ibn Rasulillah? Comes to some of them and says, why? Says, you shouldn't, you're the sons of Ali. Because they wanted to remove this connection in order to weaken Ahlul Bayt. Says, call yourself Ibn Ali. The Imam replies to him and says, tell me one thing. If Rasulullah came to your house and asked for your daughter's hand in marriage, would you give it to her? Would you give it to him? Says, of course, Sharaf, Rasulullah, he would be my son-in-law. Of course I would give him my daughter. The Imam replies, I will not give my daughter. Says, why? Says, because it is haram for me to give my daughter. Says, haram because Rasulullah would be the mahram of my daughter. Like this, throughout the history of Islam, you had different individuals that tried to discount and remove the status of especially Imam al-Hasan and Imam al-Hussein. Imam al-Hasan is one of the biggest targets of Bani al-Abbas in trying to defame the Imam. One of the narrations that they have, and it appears in the books of our brothers, that Imam al-Hasan had 40 something wives. He would marry in the morning while eating breakfast and divorce her by the evening, by the time of Maghrib. Why? Why did they try and do this? It was to say, we're not sure who the real Sadat are, who the real Ahlulbayt are. Look at the Hassan, he had so many wives, so many different children, we don't know. But al-Abbas started this in order to remove the status of Imam al-Hasan, in order to defame Imam al-Hasan. And Imam al-Hasan is one of those individuals, that one of the early Imams, that his own Shi'as turn against him. Where you see his peace treaty with Muawiyah, his own Shi'as are coming up to him and addressing him in the street. Adi ibn Hatim al-Ta'i. Adi ibn Hatim al-Ta'i is one of the companions of Amir al-Mu'mineen. He comes, he approaches the Imam, and he says to him, Assalamu alayki ya mudhill al-mu'mineen. My salam be upon you, the one that has made the mu'mineen zalil, that has humiliated the mu'mineen. Why did you sign this peace treaty with Muawiyah? And Imam Hassan explains it himself later in a letter. He says that if I had not signed this peace treaty with Muawiyah, not a single Shia would have remained on the face of the planet. You see, the peace treaty of Imam al-Hasan, that isn't an exception, that is the norm of Ahlulbayt. Karbala was the exception. Ahlulbayt's way was always intellectual and it was always filled with peace. Karbala was the exception that happened. It wasn't the norm. The norm was the peace treaty of Imam al-Hasan. Karbala was the exception. Insight that Imam al-Hasan had. And even throughout time, you find that these individuals constantly trying to degrade the status of Ahlul Bayt. But yet, the maqam, the status of Ahlul Bayt remained. It is not something that can be denied. And as Ziyarat Jamiah Kabeerah has explained, for the lovers, for the mawali, for the mu'mineen, the status of Ahlul Bayt is far greater. We have covered 2 sections in the previous 14 lectures. 2 sections which each end with wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. You'll very easily be able to identify it. We've gone through the 14th point today. There are many other points that remain. Inshallah, if you get an opportunity, you can go and read the ziyarah yourself and ponder over it. We will inshallah be continuing this series in Los Angeles from Friday. Again, discussing the further points in Ziyarat Jamiah Kabeerah. I'm not sure whether they're going to be online, but I'll inform Medibai if they are to be recorded and put online, as a few people have asked me about it. In the end, all that is left to say is to ask for your forgiveness if in any way, shape or form I have offended you in the previous 14 nights that I have been with you. If any of my words have hurt you, my actions have hurt you, if you could find it within your heart to forgive me, as we explained in the previous nights, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Irhamu turhamu. If you forgive, then Allah will forgive you. And the other request is that you keep me in your du'as, as this community, its members, will always be and always are in my du'as, inshallah. I thank you all for your hospitality over the previous 2 weeks or so, and I hope that inshallah our paths cross again very soon. We pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives our sins. Pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives the sins of our parents. Oh Allah, those of our parents that are alive, give them long lives. Those of our parents that have left this world, give them a place next to Ali Muhammad in Jannah. Oh Allah, those who are ill, give them shifa'ah. Those who are in debt, clear their debts. Those who are in education, make them successful. Oh Allah, those mu'mineen that have difficulties, problems, sorrows within their life, for the sake of Imam al-Hasan, for the sake of the position that Ahlul Bayt hold next to you, Ya Allah, relieve their problems, solve their difficulties, and remove all of their sorrows. O Allah, hasten the reappearance of the Imam of our time and allow us to be amongst his true muntadhireen, his true awaiters, for the acceptance of these du'as and any other du'as that the brothers and sisters have brought. Please recite 3 loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.